managed to find your way into the news in all sorts of ways. And 2 days ago, you were looking like you weren't going to be fighting until the end of December. And then all of a sudden, a whole series of events came up that you had a shot at the light heavyweight title. Kind of talk about what's going on the last 48 hours in your life after you heard from Dana White.
Well, yeah, it's been about, let me look at my clock here, less than 24 hours. Look, I got a phone call from Uncle Dana. He said, what are you doing next Saturday? He said, you want to fight? And I said, yeah, who do you got? And I was thinking when he said it, I was thinking, well, who would I fight? You're going to put Forrest and I together? What do you need us for? And he said, no, Jones. I thought, oh, no, what happened to Dan? That was really my biggest concern, and that still is my biggest concern is his health. Now we know it's a knee. That's pretty common, but that's a slippery slope. Some knees never fully recover. So, that's really where my mind is at. I'm hoping Dan's well.
CHAEL, when the opportunity was offered to you, did you have any hesitation, think about, hey, it's only 8 days. I'd only really have 3-4 days of practice. I got a lot of weight to lose. Was there any doubt in your mind that you would take this fight?
No. There's no time though either. You're asked a question when it's to him and Ha with Dana White on the phone. You got to yes or no. This is a pass or fail test. Check one of the boxes and let's move on. All these guys act like they need all this time and they need to consult all of these people. I don't understand it. You're a grown man. Do you want to fight or not?
Well, let's talk about that because Greg Jackson, who is taking a lot of heat, he's John Jones's coach, and he pointed out, I spoke to him, he said there's a lot of differences between you and Dan Henderson, you being a southpaw and Dan obviously being a right-hander, chief among them, differences in the way you shoot for takedowns and whatnot. And he doesn't buy the fact that you were just sitting at home and not training. He said he believes that you were working with Dan Henderson, that you are in good shape, and that you would have never considered taking the fight had you not been. How do you respond to what Greg had to say?
Well, Coach Jackson is a very wise man, and those guys trust him and respect him because he's earned their trust and respect. And anytime a coach gives his athlete advice that he sincerely believes to be true, I find that to be very admirable. So good for him. I think that he should gain respect for doing that. And sometimes your decisions when you're in that spot aren't always popular. But if that's what he felt as his advisor and coach, and he gave him that information, good for him, absolutely.
Do you think, had you been training, had you been working with Dan Henderson, and, you had told me earlier, you said you were significantly over the 205-pound limit. You said you could make it, but you were significantly over. Could you, tell us, were you, in fact, training with Dan, and are you in better shape than maybe you're letting on?
Well, I'm not letting on that I'm out of shape. I don't know where that came from. I'm always ready to go, man. It doesn't make any difference to me. This was Jones's opportunity, I can beat John Jones, but he can beat me too. He's a really good and rare talent. But if you give me 90 days on a contract, you tell me a date, you let me get with my team and my strategy, that wheel's going to really balance itself out. This was his big opportunity to get over and get past me and get me out of the way. He declined on it, and that's fine too. All he's doing is delaying the inevitable. That's it.
On August 14th, you called him out on Fuel TV when you were in one of your spots there. And to some people, it almost seems like this was somehow planned, that you knew about this in advance because of your relationship with Dan Henderson, and that it was too coincidental to have been just occurred the way it supposedly did.
Well, those people are right to assume that I'm a genius and that I'm secretly pulling the strings from behind the scenes. They should continue to think that way. It'll be a lot safer world if they just let me be in charge. But with all of my many talents, seeing the future is not one of them.
What's your reaction to Jones declining to fight you? Could you have ever imagined that a guy, hey, let's face it, John Jones, the Yahoo Sports ratings have him number 2 pound for pound. Some people vote him number 1 pound for pound. Pretty impressive fighter. He destroyed 4 pretty good fighters in the last year, all either champions or former champions. Are you surprised that he said no?
Well, I'm surprised anytime, there's so many things at play here. You've got a guy that's in great shape and healthy turning down a fight. That just doesn't happen. You have a champion turning down a fight, and that just doesn't happen. And you have a main event that an industry is counting on, including you, Kevin. You cover this sport for a living, and now you don't have a show to cover. And for one bratty, entitled kid to pull the plug on all of that, it really, really blew me away. I've simply never heard of it in any of those regards. And he was all of that wrapped into one champ, main event, in shape, and still turned it down. And he can do what he wants. I don't have sour grapes towards him for his decision, but I do wish that he would consider all of the other people that this affects. And there's guys on the undercard who are scratching and clawing for their chance, that are on borrowed money, that are sleeping at the gym, and that are counting on that paycheck. And then they have people counting on the residuals that they're going to get. There's sparring partners that have $75 or $100 coming. That is literally the difference in whether they're going to be able to eat 3 full meals a day. And it's a tremendously big deal for some rich brat out in New Mexico to just say the hell with you all. And it was surprising, but I mean, he's lined up with Nike, those guys are a bunch of scumbags too. Everybody wants to act like they should be ooh and ah of the swish. Please go Google Nike sometime. I don't think we should be surprised that these knuckleheads found each other.
Well, but let's play devil's advocate. What does Jon Jones have for any fighter on this card? Why does he has to worry about his family, his well-being, what's best for his career, what's best for his family? So why should he worry about whether somebody else's sparring partner can afford to pay his bills or not?
Sure. Well, and he didn't. He didn't worry about any of those things. I did. I worried about him. I was the one at the disadvantage. I'm the one changing weight classes. I'm the one that's stepping in the ring without knowing who my opponent was. So Jon Jones doesn't need to do those things. We would never count on Jon Jones for anything, but we could always count on CHAEL Sonnen. And I came forward, but my motivation for coming forward, certainly wasn't for the title or the money. I got plenty of titles and I got plenty of money. My motivation was to try to save the day, because there's something a lot larger at stake here, and that is an industry. And there's a lot of guys that came before me, a lot of guys that helped set the table that I now get to eat from, and I need to pay those guys back in some small way. And the best way to pay them back is to pay them forward. And Jon Jones doesn't seem to agree. He would take the stance that you just put out. And that's okay. He's done real well with that stance. It's just not the one that I'm subscribing to.
What do you think, if any, the long-term harm to the sport's going to be, given the fact that the UFC has built a reputation? They don't cancel cards. They're more than just a main event. They're a deep card. And now this is almost like what happens in boxing. If Manny Pacquiao gets hurt, the card's off. If Floyd Mayweather gets hurt, the card's off. Do you think that we're going to start going this direction? And are you afraid other athletes would follow John's lead here?
Well, it's a new experience. And in short, no. There's going to be a big pain, for the guys down there at Zuffa headquarters, and they're going to work through it like they always do. But look, the bottom line is that it stops. Right now, 151 stops. You move forward with 152. It's the best that they can do. And it isn't new for the industry, but, there's headaches all the time. Just on the last pay-per-view, we had carriers, DirecTV specifically, where they had a major outage and we couldn't service people that wanted to see the show. That's a tremendous blow when you're counting on that as part of your business model, but they move forward anyway. And Zuffa's big and strong enough to do that. And, I think you make a very fair point that generally with the UFC, they have a really loaded card. And oftentimes we see a fight fall out and it doesn't cost us the entire event. And this was one of those rare times with 3 pay-per-views in a short period that some of the talent got spread. And